Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Fed Up with me, Fed Up Guys. Joining me today are Scott and Ryan from EX Aegis. So good to have you with me here today, guys. I'm really looking forward to getting into it with you.
Yeah, thanks guys for having us on, man. I'm very looking forward to it as well.
Dude, thanks for having us.
You're very, very welcome. So let's jump straight in there. Recently, you released a self-titled album, and I've noticed the intro is very, very movie-esque, very cinematic. It reminded me of one of those epic sci-fantasy movies, and then that does match the tone of the album. I know there's so many styles which we'll obviously cover, but I thought it was a good opening because it's kind of got like, it's the nerd in me, guys, but it made me think of those epic movies, especially those old school ones with all like the battle themes and everything and all that music. And I thought, oh man, yeah, this is something. And I thought it was a really nice way to set the scene. And then that happens with the music and the vocals as well. It's almost as if you could see like cruiser ships in space and someone outside. I know I'm breathing in space is quite, but anyway, someone outside. But did you want to set that scene with the intro to really grab people and draw them in?
Well, Ryan actually is the guy who had the main idea for that intro. So go ahead, Ryan. Tell them the story.
Okay, well, so just in terms of the mood, I remember when Ozzy Osbourne used to start his shows by playing a little bit of Carl Orff's Carmina Burana.
Yeah.
Right before like during the Randy era, right? So I just thought the album needed something suitably epic to kind of kick things off. And then whenever live shows begin, hopefully it'll go the same way. So
that's a great intro song for sure.
Yeah. So the intro song is that there's a sci-fi movie that's maybe not so good that came out in the early 80s called Saturn 3.
Seen it. It was on TV the other
week. Perfect.
So,
awesome. So that intro music, it's called Space Murder. From the soundtrack by Elmer Bernstein, and it plays during a spaceship crawl, and then it turns into something else. So it's just a few minutes of it. We altered it a little bit, so it's we kind of remixed it a little bit. But that's kind of the story with
and
that.
It has a tie-in to the first song too, right? Because that's we call it intro, then the first song on the album is called Shadowlock, and that ties right into the story of the movie, right?
Yes, well, the whole plot is that Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett are growing food on a moon, on one of Saturn's moons for an Earth that has no more resources, right? But when that moon, when Saturn is in between, when it passes through, right, and it basically blocks all communications to Earth during its orbit. So while all the mayhem with a murderous android programmed
typical.
Harvey
none of that stuff could ever happen for real, which is good.
Well,
no ruined
Earth, for now.
No androids going crazy. That could never happen. We can sleep well tonight, knowing that.
Well, in an infinite universe, anything's possible, guys. So, so they get shadow locked. So while they're being hunted by a murderous android, they can't send a distress signal back to Earth because they're shadow locked.
There you go.
So there's that.
And that is the story of intro.
Some serious nerdiness, yes.
No. You are completely in the right place. I am absolutely doing my best to behave already because I'm such a nerd. Sci-fi, fantasy, martial arts, wrestling, action, horror, everything, all on the right areas. As you can probably gather with a background as well. As soon as you mentioned sci-fi, dude, I was like, all right, behave. You've got to try and at least do something on the music. Because I have such a habit of going off topic about all this stuff, but doesn't sci-fi, though, in my opinion, and I wish more bands did this, there are some, it just seems to go so well with metal and rock.
Because metal's epic, that's why. It's bigger than life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that, if you're... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, sorry, go on, Scott. It's me.
I was going to say, if you're singing about love in a coffee house, then you don't need something epic to go along with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're singing about, space murderous robots on a shadow-locked planet, you need something epic to go with that.
Yes, space travel deserves something suitably epic.
Yeah.
Plus, sci-fi is imaginative without limits.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of music I want to make.
Well,
Yeah,
fantasy
exactly.
too. If you look at some of the bands that sing about fantasy elements and stuff like that, you need music that is appropriate for that to go along with that.
Definitely.
If you're singing about storming a castle or something, it can't be some dude strumming an acoustic in the corner. You know what I mean?
yeah. We're
Right.
assaulting the walls.
Shooting the arrows into the castle. It's like I'm sad because no one gets me, and I'm really deep and no one understands.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, for real, definitely is. And it's awesome to hear Saturn 3 because there was on TV here the other week. There's two channels that I talk about a lot in this show, and I think they're owned, funnily enough, by CBS possibly, and it is Legend and Horror Extra, and they show everything, man, from indie films, classic vintage sci-fi horror. And Saturn 3 was only on literally last week, and I watched it, and the concept was pretty amazing. So hearing that is the inspiration. I was like, man, yeah, you've got me from the start. If you just put sci-fi or a ninja on the front of an album, I'll buy it. You don't even have to be good. I'll support it.
All right, that was for the next album cover: ninja fighting robots and aliens.
Yeah,
we got guys right from the get.
Cyborg ninja murder.
There we go.
Maybe a big concept album. We'll just go all the way with that.
All right, it's documented. There it is.
All right.
Sounds
We're
like
kind of locked ourselves in now, Ryan. I got no choice.
Yep, you're locked in, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So coming into Shadowlock, I mean, you mentioned a little bit about it there, Ryan, tying in with the movie. So, did you, from obviously being a fan of that movie, was that you just thought, right, I want this to be the opening song on the album, and then did you put that to Scott and say, look, man, I've got this idea. This is based on this movie. Can we write and record something around this?
I think part of the fun is that, that movie's been kind of forgotten by most people. It had a troubled development history, so it wasn't a big hit. It was the movie that would be on like Sunday afternoon on, syndicated television when I was a kid, right? So, musically, I just thought it sounded suitably epic, and then part of the fun was explaining to people where I found it.
And
just like now,
the lyrics go. As I wrote the lyrics to the song, I was trying to find a way to honor where it was coming from. Okay, this is about a murderous robot rampaging on a planet, but I didn't want to write about that, so I just kind of used it in a metaphorical way, like a shadow lock, like emotionally shadow lock. There's no hope. You're feeling like you basically have no reason to get up in the morning, that kind of thing, and then kind of contrasting that with sort of like a despairing kind of feel. Just kind of in a way, sort of embracing that feeling of like, man, there's really no hope, that kind of thing, and in a more metaphorical way rather than writing literally about a cyborg.
Well, and those are natural. Those are natural emotions if you're being hunted by a murderous robot. So
yeah, I mean, you can apply that. I'm not saying that. I'm not taking off the table. I'm just saying
it's totally
about that.
To type, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well though, because you're also drawing from that real world aspect. So that emotional state is something, if anyone's ever suffered, depression, PTSD, anxiety, where you feel you're in this complete well of despair, there's no way out, there's no hope. And when you do have the good days and you make that progress, and then you get hit by a bad day again, or bad mood swing, it can happen at any time, there's no control over it, and then you're just sucked into it, and that is really, really how you feel. So I think that's one, it's relatable for people as well. And you think if this just shows how nerdy I am as well. When we just recently had COVID and that isolation people have felt during that period, if you put a sci-fi angle on it and you're in space and sits on Saturn 3 and there's literally you and maybe one other co-worker on that station, and there's a murderous robot, and if you've got limited weapons, I mean, you're going to think, damn. What do we hear?
Well, one thing I would say is a common thread on the lyrics on this whole record is resilience and not giving up in the face of challenge, that kind of thing. That's something that I think is something that all the songs have some aspect of that, and recognizing that you just got to hold fast. And as long as you keep getting up, it's the old saying, it's how many times you get knocked down, so many times you get up. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that same sort of thing, that there's a lot of that thread through a lot of the songs on this album.
So it's doing it in kind of an empowering, positive way where, yes, they can enjoy the riffs because there's some good headbanging moments on the songs as well, but there's that a subtle message, as you said, about getting back up and not giving in, keep going forward, got to do this. And again, it can visually inspire that imagery in your mind from a sci-fi angle of someone, say, who's going to be, I don't know, under siege from, I'm going to show my nerdy leanings here, a Legion of Chaos Space Marines, for example. Warhammer 40k reference.
Warhammer 40k. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and I mean that's good. One of the most horrible places ever to live in the universe, Eternal War, and just it could be called a heretic at any moment, and no choice. So it's very, very interesting to hear. So with that in mind, did you all draw from individual experiences related to those emotions to form the songs, both to write them and play them? And I know I'm asking a loaded question here, and then once you've got those songs wrote, or I don't know if you did it with the music first, and it's like, this really fits the feel and emotion that we want to get across in this song, with the good riffs as well, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the music definitely came first. We always start with we essentially had finished songs, like top to bottom. We had all the arrangements set up, maybe vague ideas about like titles or something like that. We pretty much had it fleshed out. And I pretty much just went and just put myself into the studio and listened to the songs and came up with the melody for the vocals and the lyrics and stuff. And it just kind of, the way I like to write is it's sort of like it sort of just hits me and I sort of let it come, if that makes sense. Like you kind of open up when the air comes in, you kind of figure out what's there. I knew that with Shadowlock, I didn't want to go too literal. I wanted it to be more of a metaphorical sort of Shadowlock, that kind of thing. One thing I always try and do as a lyricist is I try and have it be sort of ambiguous, so the listener can sort of interpret it how they want to interpret it. I don't want to be too concrete about what I'm saying or not saying, if that makes sense. That way they can kind of make of it what they want. So typically what happens in the case of Shadowlock, this is one that Ryan was responsible for the vast majority of the music. I came up with that little middle part where it kind of gets soft, but the epic parts were all Ryan. And so that was there. The inspiration of Shadowlock was there. We'd already had the intro, so it kind of knew where it was coming from, and that really influenced sort of, okay, write about this feeling, but don't literally write it so it's like verbatim that. And each of the songs on the album, I kind of approached it in a similar way, where the part would be there, and I would sit down and listen to it, and then let the melody come to me, and then sort of work my way through the lyrics until I figure out what this was about. And then I would sort of finish it up, and then we'd go over it together and sort of edit it and stuff and say, do you like this? Do you not like that? That kind of thing. And it was kind of collaborative, but a lot of times the inspiration hits pretty quick, and you're just sort of just going, okay, let's sit and make this real. And go from there. You know what I mean?
And that's the best way to do it as well, especially when it comes natural and organically with that feeling. And then totally. So moving on to Rising, I know you mentioned the consistent theme throughout the album, but just want to do a deep dive on each track as well.
Sure.
So what particularly is involved with Rising, both the themes and concepts behind that, and how did you kind of lay down the riffs and music there and then thought, right, we're happy with this, let's call this one Rising?
Well, Ryan came in with this one as a completed piece of music. The music is all Ryan on this one. So go ahead and if you could just explain, where you came up with the ideas for that, and I'll get the lyrics after you hit the music part.
Yeah, well, so thank you. So, so Rising just started with that opening riff, right? That kind of that pedal point, sort of DOE sounding. It's got sort of an I Speed at Night kind of feel, or like a stand up and shout kind of feel to it, even though it's its own thing, but it's kind of got that vibe. That's just a riff that had been knocking around in my head for a long time. Scott and I are both full-time guitar instructors. So it was just something that kind of came up, in between lessons, just a riff I'd been messing around with. And, the rest of it kind of, just sort of sprouted from there. There's aspects, I think I was listening to a lot of Vandenberg at the time too.
Right.
So, there's, during the solo section, some of the rhythm guitars are kind of Adrian Vandenberg-ish, but I'm a big fan of track number 2 on albums, right? It's a lot of the second track's an important track, and it needs to rock just as hard as the opener, but kind of in a different way. So, and you know what? In terms of just the mood, this was during the depths of the pandemic. So I kind of wrote the music to cheer myself up.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, just something that would be suitably also epic, but something that's fun, that rocked, that kind of, as Scott mentioned, showed sort of a resilience. Right. And Scott and I have been separated for a while because of the pandemic. So just on a personal level, I wanted to get a piece of music, generate something new after our songwriting sessions had been sort of put on pause. Right. I wanted to email something to Scott that would just show like, hey, this dream of ours is still alive. Right. Here's this new thing, and so that's kind of where that came from.
And it's a really important song too, because that's the first song that we had our vocalist Jude Morgan sing on.
Wow.
That really helped, because that got us to really be able to really see a three-dimensional idea of what this could be with her vocals. You know what I mean? Yep. Up until that point, I've been writing the melodies just on the guitar and writing lyrics. So it's kind of, you had to listen to this melody and imagine these lyrics on that melody. But hearing her sing it, it made it real on a different level, if that makes sense. And then as far as the lyrical content, this is about the most straightforward in terms of, you're going to have life kick your butt. It's going to knock you down over and over and over again. You need to get up and keep fighting over and over again. As many times you get knocked down, you got to get up one more time, then get knocked down. Yeah. That's exactly the lyrical feel. And my favorite part of this song is the scream that Jude does at the beginning of the song. That opening, I was picturing like Queen of the Reich, sort of that intro scream that just like lets you know that we're not backing off, mother effer. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. That's what I was saying when I listened to the album. It really does have that, as I've said, that big time like movie cinematic feel from fantasy as well. Goes with it. I mean, live you could bring in props and so much stuff to really put that theater across, man. Yeah. I'm nerding big time, but I say this to guests all the time when they come on the show. When I listen to music of any kind, and especially if I want to get a feel for what an artist is doing, or someone says, right, what do you think of our music? You do a review. I shut everything else out, everything else external. I don't want to know what anybody else has said, what anybody else has written, any other interviews or anything. Literally, just give me your music. I'll listen to it. And then I like to kind of feel what I'm hearing naturally, what I can feel, where those influences are coming from, whether I'm right or wrong, just how it makes me feel in that sense, rather, because I don't want to be influenced by somebody else's opinion, even if it's, right or wrong, whatever. And it's the best way, I think, to experience music, to get the purest definition of it. So it definitely has that feel, man. And Rising, I mean, you mentioned having track 2, definitely, Ryan, because that keeps people then on the album. Is that strong second opener. So look, it's not just going to be like, you get some albums where you have, say, track 1 can be good, then you might have track 7, and then this happens sometimes. The very last song can be good as well, and then everything else you feel is just filler. It's just been thrown on there to put the line. I'm like, I'd rather them release, starting to rant here, but I'd rather them release an EP just with those 3 good songs, rather than just, we'll put on the extra 8 songs just for filler to make it up. It's just like, coffee shop music or something. So think definitely onto it with track 2, because that's saying, look, we want to keep you here for the journey. We're going to hold you. We're going to keep you with us. And man, again, with the themes of Rising, especially considering the pandemic, kind of things that are still happening in the world, where it's like, man, we just got through this. Now we're faced with this, especially as people are at each other's throats all the time as well. And you're just like, so how are we gonna get past this? As you rightly said, Scott, get back up, keep going. It is going to keep knocking you down. The name of this show is a bit of a comedy spin in all of this. So I say, I'm always fed up about something. Come on, tell me why you're fed up.
That's such a human thing. Everyone's got that. You know what I mean? I think the thing that people can easily fall into is the despair and everything sucks and why even bother, that kind of feeling. And I think that to me is such a mistake. I always think back to, this is going to get, you talk about nerdy, I'll get way nerdy. I'll take it up.
It's all right with the flow.
Think about what Gandalf says to Frodo in Fellowship of the Ring, which is, all you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
That's it. It's not about, you get to choose good or bad. That's, things are going to happen to you, good and bad through life. It's not your decision about that. It's how you deal with that is what you have to learn to do. You know what I mean? And to me, that's a lot of the lyrical themes that and I didn't set out to do like, that wasn't like, hey, I'm going to write a whole album about like resiliency, but that's just what I was feeling myself at the time.
Yeah, it just comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I think, cynicism is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't take any
definitely.
courage to be cynical.
Nope.
You know what I mean? At
It's
all.
real easy. Yep.
So,
It's also having the right people around you, people that are going to support you, that believe in what you do, what you're doing, especially if you're in a band or anything to do with the arts or anything in life.
Yeah.
Think of it.
Yeah.
That positive energy around you where, look, this might not happen first time. You're going to get knockbacks, but let's keep going with this. Let's keep moving forward. And I think if we can try and limit those negative auras around us, that helps as well, because then that can subconsciously affect you sometimes.
Yeah.
It can rub off on you and you're like, man, and then you realize once you get away from whatever that was, it's like, God, I didn't realize that was literally pulling me down as well. It wasn't helping with what I was already dealing with, for example.
totally.
Yeah, and don't worry about the nerding and off-topicness. I actively encourage it. It's why I subtly say to bands as well, they'll say, well, how long's the show then? Are we okay to go past 60 minutes? I'm like, dude, watch the past episodes. I can talk to the world. I'm like, it regularly goes past them. I would suggest, make sure you're free.
More time. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But
comfortable. That's good.
Yeah. So
we felt Rising was a very powerful track, though. We felt like it needed to be right towards the front, something that's kind of keep that energy. We felt Shadowlock hit it pretty hard, and then Rising just kind of brings that up another notch. I think it's a little bit more even intense and maybe even a little bit more melodic even than the previous track. So,
well, yeah, if you think, as we said, you've got that intro, so you're expecting something to happen then, and it's very epic. There's certainly the power metal vibes throughout the album, and that kind of goes with a lot of power metal as well. There is a band, I forget the name now, I think they sing about ancient Greece, and literally you can hear like it's almost as if you were there in a sense, like all the imagery comes forth, and then they've got one song. Now I'm live, I forget the name.
That's cool.
War Kings, that's it. They've got a song called Battle of Marathon, and all about the guy, who ran to warn them, look, hey, we're going to be under attack here. Hence why the marathon was born from that. And it's very epic, like yourselves, very cinematic, and it really does catch your mind. So, yeah, and the same with Iron Maiden when they open up and they have like all the Where Eagles Dare kind of intro, and then open up. So, no, it's the right one. So moving on to another song, because people. I
just wanted to say.
No, go on, man.
I'm glad you said cinematic, because I am a huge King Diamond fan. So thank you for saying cinematic.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
I did creative writing in college, and I took screenwriting as well.
Nice.
And I think that's maybe why I just have this habit of thinking of everything in film. I mean, I'm a huge movie fan. Anyone who's watched any of these shows regularly get off topic chatting about movies. It seems to happen all the time. But with having that natural visual imagination, I see everything like that. Comedy,
that's awesome.
Music. Sometimes it's not so awesome if it's the middle of the night and you try to sleep. It's like
sure.
Just turn it off when you need to. That's basically it.
Yeah. So coming on to the next one, Not My Kind. Oh man, this is an interesting one. This had me thinking in a number of interpretations as well, but it's not about what I think. So could you tell us, a bit about both the music side to it and the lyrics, and then how you thought of the title would best fit with what you both created?
Yeah, this one I'm more responsible for. I would say almost everything on this one. The song, the riff. My approach when I'm writing riffs is it's got to hit me. I've got to play it. I've got to think that's awesome. I want to hear that again. You know what I mean? And then it's almost like a stream of consciousness thing. Everything kind of evolves from there. So the riff starts. Yeah. Then I think about, okay, I'm going to think of that as an ostinato. I'm going to stick this chord progression underneath it that makes the harmonic motion happen. And then it's going to go to these parts. So I kind of wrote the music, and then the melody came to me right away, just as a guitar melody, really. And then as I was writing it, I started thinking about this is where I live in California is very rife with a lot of I'm a dad myself. I got kids. There's a lot of families, a lot of kind of what are quote unquote soccer moms, and being at like children's sporting events. I've seen and witnessed stories and accounts of some pretty awful things being done by parents. And this song is really was inspired by, I think what Ryan once told me was this is the tragedy of not wanting what you have.
Yeah.
Song's about. It's basically someone who, gets married at like 23, has 4 kids by the time they're 30, never really understood who they were at that point. And now they're 35 and they're dragging kids around all day long, and they're just looking for anything to make them feel like I'm alive. I really am a person. I have value in myself. I'm not just a caretaker for these other people's lives. And then they oftentimes will make terrible decisions that end up destroying everybody. And this is kind of a song about that, about someone making bad decisions, not taking into account the responsibilities of the people that they love and have responsibility to. And I've seen this happen firsthand by people in our community, and it's just tragic. And I look at that and I just think everybody's a victim in this thing. The person who's doing it's a victim. The spouse who's being destroyed is a victim. The kids are a victim. There's really nothing positive. And if they had only get outside themselves a bit more and recognize that there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger thing that you have responsibility to rather than just how you're feeling in that moment. And I think that's, not to call anybody out, but that's sort of where that inspiration of the lyrics came from. And somehow I just knew when I was coming up with the melody, this is what the song's about. I don't know how that happened, but that's kind of where it went. And that's the story behind it. Although Ryan did come up musically with this really cool middle section with the cool guitar harmonies. That was Ryan's contribution to the song.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, and then you also, so there's a lot of Scott and I like swapping solos on this album.
Yeah.
In fact, virtually every track has a couple of solos on it. So
the only one that's not both of us is Hourglass. That's the only one.
That is right.
I feel like musical sparring. I noticed that.
Every great 2 guitar band does that. What great guitar band doesn't have that? So what are you gonna say, Ryan? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just totally concurring. So,
but I felt like the melody was very strong. I felt like this song is like has like the most kind of singly kind of vibe to it of any of the songs, at least in my opinion. It kind of has that strong melodic kind of thing happening, but kind of a dark subject matter. Probably the darkest subject matter on the record, I would say.
Well, I think that's why it's important to listen to the whole album as a whole album too, right? Because there is a flow, right? So as you get into later tracks, the resiliency comes back, right? So they're like chapters in a story without the concept album.
That's a good point.
That's why I mentioned there was a number of ways that song could be interpreted because of how am I going to come back from, say, whatever situation. So it could be if a person is in what you described, Scott, is okay, then say I've made a mess of my family, I've made a mess of my life, I've put out this bad energy, etc. Everyone is unhappy. So how am I going to turn this into a positive? Not only just going to benefit me, but say benefit my family, people around me. So, but that's good how you could, I'm going to try and behave myself a little and not get back into sci-fi for a month, just for the moment.
Sure.
There's that spin on it you could do, the real world aspect, a number of ways, even from kind of a sports perspective as well, is I don't want to be around this certain teams that have wasted too much time or wrestler. No, I'm not referring to CM Punk as people will probably think at the moment. So how can I, like we said, turning things into a positive? And, and I'm not being in this in a patronizing sense either, but real life experiences and things you see around you, I think, always make the best lyrics for anything, best stories, because it's real. And even if you want to make sci-fi, as we've all been talking about, you can still put that element in there, which again, it can still be a sci-fi story, but it is based on things that I saw around me as I was traveling or in my own life or whatever.
Some of the best sci-fi is like allegorical to real life. I mean, it really is. So,
right. It gives us an opportunity to take a different perspective on things, right?
Do you think it's a way we can do social commentary without kind of instigating verbal riots, which we see too often now?
Yeah, absolutely. It allows you to see things. It allows you to step outside of yourself and then consider something from an objective, from still subjective, but from another perspective, so that your identity isn't wrapped up in what's going on. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, to me, it's almost like just almost observational, really. just like this is something I've seen happen. You know what I mean? And this is like sort of an outsider's perspective. You know, without being wrapped up in the inner details of all the what's going on. It's just sort of okay. This is what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
And you know what? If I were
very
to
common in like where I live, it's a very suburban kind of place. So it's one of those things where you just see it all the time, and it's Sorry,
well, if I were going to draw a message from it, I think it really focuses on the importance of, you shouldn't take steps in life just because you think that's what you ought to do.
Yeah.
Right. I think people find themselves in that position when when they're just kind of checking off the boxes of milestones in their life. Like, okay, now I need to get married. Now I need to have kids. Now I need, but without ever considering if that's really what they want or not.
Yeah.
Right. And then they end up in that situation. And then that's, creates an opportunity to build resentments. Right. And
yeah, which is unhealthy, because then that person can lash out, take it on those around them, or hold them accountable. When you like you were saying, Scott, you see it all the time, and it's kind of. I was only having this conversation with one of my friends and with last night's guest, how, and I'm going a little bit in another direction here, but if you think you see this in these suburban areas, you see the same myself here. And then with how people are behaving in terms of, I guess, politics, shouting at each other, not listening.
Yeah.
And it's, again, to put a sci-fi reference on it, it's almost like you've took the red pill in the Matrix, and you're seeing everybody kind of falling into this pattern. And it's a real bizarre feeling and bizarre sensation sometimes to witness, almost like you're seeing kind of a strange theater play. And I often think, if there's ever a band or a band or writer in that scenario, and I thought, you just sat there and just jotted some notes down or the melody, I just thought, there's the plus in that sense, the creative side. There's no shortage of material to draw from.
Yeah,
but
to me, that it's that's the most interesting stuff to write about. I think is trying to find a spin on what's real. I'm actually more about what's real than I am about the fantasy thing. Strangely enough, although I'll oftentimes write from a fantasy perspective to kind of illuminate something that I'm seeing that's real, if that makes sense.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So,
yep.
But not literally singing about dragons, but like metaphorical dragons, or in the case of Shadowlock, metaphorical Shadowlocks. That kind of thing. I mean,
yep.
Well, I think it's a good way, as we were saying, about you can do that social commentary without kind of provoking a heated confrontation between people, because you can say, well, look, this still is a story, a piece of music that is set either in this particular time or in the future, if it's sci-fi, fantasy, alternative reality, anything like that. And I think that's what music gives us, that freedom to do that. As well, and that's the beauty of it. Thoroughly enjoying this, guys. But if you haven't,
love it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So moving on to Drop Call, and don't worry, folks, we will talk about everything else with the band as well. But I definitely want to do the deep dive on the album for everybody out there. So Dropped Call. Hopefully that's something that doesn't happen on this show.
We're not calling our shot. No, we're not.
Yeah. So joining me today, and okay, it's just me. So Dropped Call, and this is an interesting one, because again, it's open to a number of interpretations.
I'm so glad you understand that.
I'm curious to hear both of your perspectives on maybe some of I know the album's, only been out a short time. I just wondered what feedback you'd received about the song, maybe how people have interpreted this particular one, and how you wrote it, and then the music as well, to match that.
Well, I know Ryan was saying that this is currently our biggest song on Spotify, right? Is that right?
Yeah, somehow it just spontaneously, as of the last week or so, this song just took off.
Yeah, which is awesome. This to me. Well, I'm sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying it was great. It was just it just from out of nowhere. It just again about a week, or maybe 9 days ago, just from out of nowhere, it found its way onto a playlist and it just took off.
Wow.
This song is funny that that's the case, because this is the song that when we had our like band meeting after we finished recording and stuff, this is the one we felt was like the most like out
Oops,
of
dropped
the
call.
box one of all the songs on the album. Yeah, this is like the one kind of outlier
Yeah.
song. You know what I mean? And in terms of the songwriting, this is actually probably one of the first co-writes that Ryan and I actually wrote the song in the same room together.
Really?
So
That's right.
I came up with the beginning part, the kind of clean part, and then Ryan brought in his power, like almost like White Snake Maiden kind of chorus to it. And it was pretty cool. And then went home and wrote the lyrics. And I'm so happy you said it's interpretation, because to me this song is meant to be like ambiguous, like in terms of the lyrics. Like to me, you can take it very straightforward. Okay, this is about a love relationship. I'm trying to reach this person and they won't come back, and I'm scared about what's going to happen. It could be also maybe about people trying to communicate with each other around 2020, where something really terrible happened in the United States. And right around there, and it was people not being able to communicate with each other, people not being able to understand and recognize each other's humanity and the common shared our shared love of democracy and things like that. That's something, I'm not saying that's what it's about. It can be interpreted either which way, but if you look at the lyrics on that, you could really, depending on what you bring to it, see it either way. And that was intentional. So.
No, that's very excellent, very fitting. Sadly, I thought we had a dropped call there for a second. I was like,
froze for a moment, yeah.
I can't talk to people on that side.
Scott was temporarily shadow locked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those army of insects again somehow.
Right.
Shadow lock bugs. God, I need to behave myself. Yeah, very, very interesting. And I think now hearing that it's just blew up as the most popular song from yourselves on Spotify. Well, people must be relating to this because everybody's had those drop call moments, whether it's been in relationships or even things with work or whatever. And it can be one of the most frustrating experiences, especially from a communication point, if you are wanting to resolve that issue and then the other person just decides, right, I'm just going to end communication. That's it. Then there's that breakdown. So yeah, I think maybe probably just on the musical side, I could be way off, but I'm just guessing maybe that's what's helped propel it in popularity as well for those reasons, because it is something that is very relatable. Interesting you touch on 2020. Definitely concur, those basic principles of, human decency, respect, democracy, etc. Powerful stuff. And then, man, I feel I'm going to be saying this for every song here. With trying to behave myself and sci-fi and stuff, but Head West, it's my imagination, guys. It can be a curse sometimes because it can take me off in completely the wrong area, and I start seeing basically movies I've watched or books I've read.
No, I think it's important for everybody to never give up on their creativity.
Yeah.
So man, go with it.
Well, thank you. I'm going to put that out there as the disclaimer, folks, for future.
It's a good thing. More people need to do that. You know what I mean? It's that's huge.
Yeah, I think the same. I think the same resentful soccer mom from Not My Kind has also given up on her imagination and creativity, right?
That's funny. I never thought that the Soccer Mom the Revenge was going to show up in Head West.
We're already working on music for the next release. So yes, Soccer Mom the Revenge. That's a working title.
Yeah, maybe she has a hook in her hand this time, and she meets you at a campground somewhere.
Oh, that sounds awesome! All right, man, I'm gonna make a note.
No, I'm gonna pull it back. I'm not gonna let them out of the bag too soon. It's not ready.
Too late, dude. My horror mind is already working on it.
Yeah, Soccer Mom versus the Space Ninjas.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we got Gaz right there.
Yes. I'm gonna call Charles Band.
I mean, another reference, I guess, to go on further. I mean, there might be a few angry soccer teams from rival MLS teams and soccer teams worldwide because Messi always plays for Beckham's team at the moment, so everybody be like, but I mean, that is just such
I'll bet.
I see people go, man, I mean, just be so lucky to go and see him play Such an experience for folks. Anyway, I'm getting off topic again.
So, you were saying like your movies going in your head, listening to Head West.
Yeah.
What kind of things were happening when you were listening to the track?
Oh God, right. Okay, I'm going to just show how much of a nerd I am. Right, and this is probably because of the title, and it did, and this is what happened. I immediately thought of a couple of things here. Space westerns, like a Wild West town, but in space. A gunslinger, one that particularly come to mind, and I know this is a whole other debate for another show on the quality of Star Wars at the moment, but
I have thoughts.
The guy, I'll have to be.
I have a foolproof way to save Star Wars.
Oh no, we'll have to drag people to our podcast for that. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's I know how to fix it, man.
I would love to join you on that one as well.
Please. We'll have you on. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure,
But you know he made an appearance he was in the Clone Wars, this guy, and he was in, I think it was The Mandalorian. He's a guy who's pretty much like based on Clint Eastwood with his look, and he's got like blue skin. He's a bounty hunter. Yeah, that's it, Cad Bane.
Yeah.
I actually thought of him in one of those Wild West towns. It also made me think of the games Fallout with those like heading, like in the sense of heading west, and we're in the west, and it's after a nuclear war and civilization has ended, and there's a guy wandering around looking at all these like lost reminders from music, movie posters, everything there. So all of that popped in my mind, that combination. And then also, again, people think this guy's just such a nerd. Yeah, no, I am.
That's cool though, man. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, maybe like some Borderlands vibes too.
Yeah, exactly. Mad Max, someone traveling across a barren desert west. What is out there? What is past the rim? You could even have it where there's a guy, I even thought of this, he's on a ship traveling in space, isolated to a distant part of space, to a planet. What is there? All of that went in my mind when I was hearing it. And of course, then I was like, man, yeah, I'm obviously really enjoying this.
Oh, that's
that's what happens when I listen to, you're very welcome, any songs. It can be, if it's brutal death metal, a band like yourselves, thrash, stoner rock, whatever. I'm the same, whatever genre it is. I just start, and sometimes I can get particularly from death metal bands, particularly from brutal death bands, where they'll be like, how is this guy thinking of sci-fi, say, when it's like all horror lyrics, it's about like undead zombies and what have you. And I'm like, dude, it just happens. Yes, sometimes I'll have the horror vibes, I'll see things like that, but I can't help it. It's just it's whatever pops in my mind, like you were saying, Scott, earlier, from a writing perspective. It's just what organically manifests in that time, and I just think, man, and I just go with it. And yeah, it's maybe not for everybody, but that's just how music makes me feel.
What you're describing is what's beautiful about art. It's been music in particular, is that you can interpret it. It means whatever you need it to mean to you. You know what I mean? And there's not a right or wrong way to do it. As an artist, one thing that's tough is I don't ever want to like say this is what this is necessarily definitively, because someone else might have a different experience with it. You know what I mean? And just because I was thinking something, that doesn't definitively mean that's what it was. You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking at the time. I know for Head West, to me, being in California, you know, we're always just a short car ride to the beach here. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, man, things suck right now. You know what? Screw it. I'm heading west. I'm gonna hit the beach in an hour from now. I'll be sitting on the sand. I'm not gonna give a crap about any of this. You know, that's sort of was what I was going for on that. So to me, what that represents is sort of just put it down, whatever is getting you down right now. Go someplace beautiful and be there until you feel ready to tackle the world again. That's sort of what I was thinking. You know what I mean? Although yours is way cooler, I got to say.
Well, thank you, man. It's just, put the nerdy movie-esque part on it, I guess. And it's something, it's something straightforward.
I'm sad. You know, it's like,
so Cad Bane gets fed up with bounty hunting. So he got on the convertible.
The hunting bounties has gotten
to the beach.
Down.
Yes.
On the beach for a while. You know? Build a couple sandcastles to feel much better about that.
Right. Bounties, you know? Well, building sandcastle, that sounds like typical like Disney era Star Wars content. let's just have Din Djarin build sandcastles. Yeah. I hear he gets an easy bake oven in season 4.
Oh my good lord.
Yeah, him and Baby Yoda are just gonna, play with Play-Doh.
Gotta bring the venom. Gotta bring the venom in there, don't you, Brian? Come on.
I've got to. I've got to.
Oh, don't give me
I
some.
must.
Don't believe me. I could get started on Star Wars so easily.
Sorry, couldn't help. That's red meat for me.
You gotta let it go, man.
It's the same. My friend who lives, like as I mentioned, who lives up in San Diego, he has his own channel, Planet X Filmworks, and I co-host a movie review show with him as well. And sometimes he co-hosts on here with me too. And man, we have been ranting about Star Wars probably since they messed things up with the Force. I'm going to share my opinion now.
Mm-hmm.
Just by these alternative titles is what I think of the Disney trilogy. The Force Unawakens, Kylo struggles to strike back. Yes. Then it was the Whack Jedi instead of the Last Jedi. Oh, I can remember something from when I was 3, so now I'm the most powerful Jedi ever, and I can do everything so easily. Yep. And my emotive acting was so convincing as well. Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't. And no, I'm not a sexist because I don't like the movie. As I said last night, I don't like a movie just because they are it's if it's garbage. It's nothing to do with it being a man, woman, or anything else. It's simply garbage. Disclaimer alert. Then what was the last one? Oh yeah, only watched it once. Never want to watch it again. I refuse to recognize the Disney trilogy as canon. Probably going to upset a whole portion of that fan base. It's not that there's nothing I don't like. I literally. It's like listening to the worst music in the world where you have to pick one little positive out of it. Think, well, okay, the saxophone was good in that song. Okay, I like that bass line. Oh, there was good drums on the outro track. That's literally it with me with Disney Star Wars. I'm picking little bits here and there. The most recent movie, what was it? Rise of the Skywalker, aka Rise of the Scamwalker. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm totally with you, Ryan. I really am. And it pains me to see what they're doing. I've yet to watch Ahsoka. Apparently, people tell me first 2 episodes are absolutely great, and then it just absolutely goes down the pan. We'll have to see on that. So,
I'll just say that my beef with Star Wars started with the Phantom Menace.
Right.
Yeah, dude. So part of my beef is that my favorite show got canceled a couple years ago, and that was Raised by Wolves on what was HBO.
Oh God, was that the one with the androids, wasn't it?
Yeah. So see, I'm like a Ridley Scott Alien Universe, milk-blooded androids, and xenomorph sci-fi person.
Yeah.
I just dude, if a stormtrooper gets hit by a lightsaber, it should cut him in half.
Yeah. It's damn right it should.
Kids aren't that stupid. Okay, I digress. Back to the music.
I'm so glad to see the passion. That's so funny. It's awesome. No one cared, then no one would talk about it. You know what I mean? That's the thing that's great about Star Wars is that everyone has an opinion on it.
You know what? Just everybody. Disney owns Star Wars. Disney owns Alien, and Disney owns the Predator.
Don't get me started.
Just introduced, just on Mandalorian season 4, introduced the Predator. Dude, give me Predators versus Wookiees. The Predator assassinates Baby Yoda, and then blood feud.
And Mandalorians have to take their vengeance, and
Mandalorians versus Predators versus Wookiees. That's compelling television, folks. All right, I'm done. Back to the music.
No, you're fine. It really is. I'm the same with music. It's that passion I have for it, and people are like, "Oh no, you have happy." No, I just want a good story and something good. Yes, I'm not saying it doesn't look bad, because of course it doesn't look bad. Okay, yeah. If you want me to pick something from a Disney trilogy, I like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. There's something. I thought his lightsaber looks good.
I just like things that are full flavored. You know, when I was a kid, I was consuming musical content, right? Yeah. You know, when I was listening to Ozzy Osbourne, he was, barking at the moon and, singing about, I watched horror movies when I was a kid. Yeah. And, hey, I turned out great. So I just, like this.
You came out great.
Thanks God.
No doubt about it.
So I think, I just, it's just clearly marketing pandering to children. Star Wars is. I don't want that.
Ryan, honestly, you could argue that Star Wars has always been that. You know what I mean? You could argue that. You know what
There's
I mean?
no little kids in the original trilogy.
Well, the difference is though, when we were kids and Star Wars came out, we were children, so we were who they're pandering to. So we didn't have the wherewithal to know that this was something that's being pandered. You know what I mean? It's just that.
But there were no actual children in the original trilogy.
So it's the children you're against. Okay,
you could look up to Luke Skywalker, you could look up to Leia, and then starting with the Phantom Menace, there's a dumb little kid, and it's just it's such a blatant cash grab to market to little kids. The original trilogy, no dumb little kids. I rest my case.
I think it's, look, there's always a portion that has been marketed for children, of course, especially with Disney. I think it's more the storytelling that has suffered. It's really poor storytelling and poor characters. That's a problem with it. If the storytelling was to a decent standard and we had better characters, I think I would like that, regardless of if we're going to market this to a child's, you know, a younger viewer, whatever. It's the storytelling that has suffered. I love my darker edge sci-fi as well, just like you, Ryan. Alien, Hellraiser. Well, Hellraiser is horror, but Alien, Predator, etc. Yeah. Evil Dead, always talking about that on the show as well. Absolute cinematic genius. But anyway, I'm digressing. And they're doing this a lot with movies as well. It's not just Star Wars. Look at Fast and the Furious, where it's almost become like a production factor, where this goes in the conveyor belt in the factory. We're going to wrap this around it, and then we're going to market it to this audience. We're going to show this best part in the little trailer. Yeah, I know they have to do that to get people in the cinema, but it's like, we'll just stick to this formula, and we'll not take risks anymore, or we'll not try and expand to do a deeper sense of storytelling. So, it's worrying from a film fan's point of view that Disney is pretty much controls the majority of the film industry now. And we know those stories. I think of them renting out whole theaters just to get these stats increase. And I know this sounds like really crazy stuff, but and I'm just realizing I'm getting way off topic.
Well,
so
I'll try and bring it back. You know, there's a big. There's just
I'm just going to put a light on folks as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of media that's just simply a product. You know, Fast and Furious is just a product. It's not cinema, right?
All the biggest media is that.
You know, Star Wars is just romper room in space for little kids. It's meant to shut your brain off when you consume it. It's not meant to challenge you to make you think about things, and that's also a trend in the music world. You know, that if you listen to the top 10 songs on Spotify or whatever, it's trash. Some of it's produced really well, but that's it.
Yeah.
I think Scott and I set out to make music that's, you know, it's bespoke music that, you know, we're playing all the instruments.
For real.
Yeah, it's for real, right?
Yeah.
It's legitimate music. It's legitimate art because we created it from scratch.
So you're not a laptop band?
No, we are not.
we did use a computer, but we played actual instruments into it.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, it kind of seems like that's how it always should be done, but it's weird to have to even say that. It's like,
especially as a musician, isn't it? Yeah.
We played the stuff on the album. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
You know,
so our music is authentic, right?
Yeah,
it was just, you know, I speak for myself, and I think Scott agrees. You know, I make the music I want to listen to. I'm not going to wait for some other band to come out with a song that I love. I'm going to write it myself.
Yeah. Well, that guides where we go with the songs too. Like, you know, when you write us up, what makes you feel good or bad about it? Is it something you want to hear? You know, if it is, then you got it. You succeeded already just by creating that piece of art. You know what I mean? Whether everyone else in the world thinks it's great or not, it doesn't even matter really at that point. You know what I mean? As long as you can look at that and say, I'm proud of that. That's exactly what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So
if it's got that infectious quality and it can grab you hear it in the opening riff, drums, vocals, whatever it is, if it's got that, and then that bit of that real, I think we were mentioning this earlier, that bit of the real authenticity as well, that you get that sense, look, this is real, this is actually, you know, this is not an auto-tunes or whatever, this is actually being done for real. I'm not bashing any other music. There's lots of electronic music I like as well, but when you hear you know when you can hear like the dollars in the music where it's so artificial and there's just no soul in there, and you just think, man, this is, you can just tell this is literally for the wage. That's it. And look, all power to them. I know people have got to get by, but I think music lovers are wanting to hear something real again, because we've been fed all this oversaturated, overly clean produced stuff. And I think bands such as yourselves, and again, this is no butt kissing, but just to hear people who can actually play their instruments, and there's some relatable qualities there.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Well, no, but it's the truth for any music, not just metal and rock, you know, hip hop, blues, whatever. If it's something that's real. I mean, for example, I got sent a promo the last few days for this killer goth rock band who are from the West Coast as well.
Oh, cool.
And hopefully they're coming on very, very soon. And I never heard of them before, and they've got about 5 albums. And I'm not kidding, guys. When I heard the opening song, you know, we were talking about like that cinematic
vibe. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. English just disappeared. It's just like, those cinematic vibes. And as soon as I heard the opening riff and then the vocals come in, and man, it was just like something from those old school movies and that kind of goth rock that isn't around very much now. And I'm like, man, this is absolutely killer. No cliche pun there. And I thought, man, and I think that's what folks will identify when they listen to your music, anyone like yourselves, because people just want to hear something raw again, real, even if in terms of where the production isn't the best sometimes. If it's real and there's a decent standard there, I think folks are ready for that again. The palate wants to taste it. So I'll get back to the music, because I'm getting so.
If I can add one more thing.
Oh yeah, yes, sure.
I think something that another point of view that Scott and I share is, like, the listener shouldn't have to sacrifice musicianship for production, right? Yeah. Like the production should be killer. Our producer Tom Frost did an excellent job. Musically, we're proud of the music we made, but we also wanted it to sound, well mixed and well mastered. I don't think people should have to settle, right?
Yeah, you should get the full meal deal.
Yeah. As Scott once so wisely said, less isn't more. More is more.
I stole that from Ingve though, so it's all good.
Well, thank you, Ingve. Please don't sue us.
It's a bit like my college, actually, is that when I thought, right, I'll write too much rather than too little, because I think there's content in there somewhere. It's your job to find out what it is. Exactly. I mean, with some genres, of course, the low production, the grittier feels goes with it, or that wouldn't sound right because it could be, say, more historically grimy and gutter-like sound, particularly in some aspects of death metal, old school death, for example, or HM2 as it gets called now. But you've still got to have a little bit of a balance. If it sounds, some black metal fans might disagree, because I know they have like the ultra lo-fi, listenable side.
With that,
yeah. So I get it in some, it depends on the genre, but I think if you're even making that gutter sound, there's got to be that balance there, because if it just sounds, say, like the washing machine going around, it's
right.
If it's hard,
what's the point?
You don't make it hard for the listener. You know what I mean? You appreciate it,
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. So sorry, folks, but you'll be used to it now. Anyone who's seen past episodes, hey, it goes off topic and it's free flow, but this is what Fed Up's about, man. So I can't wait. What an aptly named song that is to get into. That wasn't intentional. Yeah. Be so excited. My God, does that limey ever shut up? Oh, anyway. So I can't wait. I'll hand you to the floor, because I'm going to collapse off the chair.
This one is another one that I'm responsible for most of everything on it. The riff is, as much as Ryan's a huge King Diamond fan, I'm a giant Van Halen fan. And so this riff is very Van Halen-y, sort of inspired by like a bunch of classic Van Halen stuff. And then the lyrics are about creative courage, like just not letting someone tell you can or can't do something, not worried about anything other than I'm going to do what I set my mind to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's sort of, to me, like being courageous with your creativity. and not settling to, well, maybe I should just go and just get that accounting job because that seems like it's safer. I shouldn't go and do what I want to do, or maybe this kind of rock and roll is not popular anymore. I should probably do something more popular. Just saying screw that. I'm going to do what I want to do and let the chips fall where they may. That's sort of what the vibe of this. So I can't wait to jump into the fray with you. Is basically like, we're just going to do this, man. It's kind of like a metaphor for what Ryan and I did writing this entire record. Just we're just going to make the music we want to make. And hope enough people dig it that it makes us want to make more. That's basically it. You know what I mean? And I think it's got one thing I love musically about this track is it's got a swing feel, which you don't hear very much in rock and metal anymore. You used to back in the day, but now it's all 16th notes, all downbeat stuff. This has got a swing to the riff, which I really dig, and I've always loved that in rock. Whether it be like Mean Streets from Van Halen, that kind of thing, that kind of swinging feel, which I totally dig. So that to me, that's my thoughts on this. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah,
I was waiting for Ryan there. So I'm not in the band, so I can't.
Yeah, totally. Well, I love the song. I got to play around with some interesting musical ideas on the first solo, and I really tried to channel Rick James for the bass line. So there was a lot of opportunity to be creative from because Scott writes great songs and great riffs. So
it's a swing thing, man. You can get that Rick James vibe up in here.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Which is kind of cool. That I should probably mention that I didn't know this though. We'd already mixed the song, but because Brian and I took turns playing bass on the record, and he's like, I got to tell you, the bass line on this song was really inspired by Boogie in the Butt.
by Eddie Murphy, but it's a Rick James song. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And tell the story, Ryan, because it's
so when I was a kid, there was my buddy, in maybe fourth grade, he got this mixtape from his sister that just had a bunch of goofy, we thought it was total contraband, but it had Boogie in Your Butt by Eddie Murphy on it. And we're in fourth grade or so.
Comedian actor Eddie Murphy. He made an album back in the 80s.
Right. So if you've ever heard My Girl Wants to Party All the Time, that's because Rick James was writing all the music for Eddie Murphy. And I love Rick James. So when it came time to contribute a bass line that was going to, be prominent in one of our tunes, I had to go to the source. I had to go to Rick James for inspiration. So just the, just the way it just locks in, it allows space for everything else that's going on. And, so I encourage everybody, go give Boogie in Your Butt by Eddie Murphy a listen. It'll put a smile on your face.
And check out I Can't Wait by Ex Aegis. That'll also put a smile on
your face. Check out Ex Aegis first. But if you want to go back, you need to hear Ex Aegis first. And
that's true.
Do the deep dive into the influences.
See where that influence came from, where it originated. Yeah, definitely, for sure. I haven't forgot to ask about the vocals as well. We will get to that. So if there's anyone out there wondering, hey, these guys haven't touched on the vocals and stuff, we'll get to that, folks. So, man, this is so apt for the kind of how things have flowed today during the show. So the next one, this is unintentional as well. Focus.
I can't wait.
Right.
Yeah. Somehow we knew when we were writing this and putting the order together, it's going to go like this. At some point, we'll be on a podcast where we need to have I Can't Wait and Focus back to back.
Yes.
And anyone who... Sorry, go on, man.
I was going to say, Focus is one of the heavier tunes. This is one of the 7-string songs on this album. I'm responsible for virtually everything on this one in terms of music and lyrics and stuff like that. It's just about what we talked about before about modern life. Lyrically, it's about the modern life thing. Modern life is so easy to pull you in a million different directions. There's so many distractions, so many things that are going to be vying for your attention. Learning to focus on what's important and then shut everything out. That sort of quiet your mind, focus on your intention. That kind of thing. That song is in the verses is meant to be kind of chaos, very chaotic sounding, and then it brings it to a focused center, and then it goes back. And that's something I'm trying to emulate, the world. Okay, life is very chaotic, but then you got to be able to bring yourself into a focus, and then it's going to become chaotic again. And that's sort of, I hope that it came across with the way the song came through. Hopefully, nice hooky riff at the beginning too. So that's my take on that song.
And what about yours, Ryan?
Just a fun song. I had to, I contributed the solo at the end, which whenever you've got to follow Scott on a solo, you've got to bring your A game. So,
vice versa, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you very much, man. That's, I think that's why we make a good duo, man. Thank you.
It's true.
So yeah, I just had a lot of fun, just like throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the solo at the end, just to kind of match the vibe, So yeah, killer tune.
It's got that chaotic thing. This is definitely the one of the heavier tunes on the record.
Yeah.
It's heavy, but it's also optimistic, Whereas Not My Kind is it's a little darker, right? Like at this point. At this point in the album, we're kind of coming back up, right? We're lifting ourselves back up. We're refocusing for the task at hand. Yeah, attacking life's challenges isn't linear, right?
Yeah,
so, Shadow Lock starts off and, it has, what you could project onto it. Rising is a little bit more, I'm going to pick myself back up. Not My Kind is a little bit darker. Drop Call is like seeing a ray of hope. Head West is, also more optimistic, and then Focus, we're getting refocused, So there's a flow, in my opinion, the way I listen to the album. I mean, that's how life is.
Yeah, it's true.
It is, and it's as you've both said, it's like focusing in to find that balance, to find that center point again of right. As we said earlier when we were chatting about Rising and. It's been one of the dominating themes as well. I can't wait. Just before this, is how am I going to get back to this center ground to say move forward with myself, be happy with myself, and seriously, it's one thing I've noticed a lot with guests recently who've been on the show, and since the pandemic, that there's an increase in writing more about. Real world experiences probably since COVID, and it is inspiring for people like myself as well, because I've been struggling with my own mental health, and I still am, and that's why I've been on hiatus on and off for the last 3 years. And then a few weeks ago something happened, and I thought, I've got to do something. I've got to make a start and do something. I've been very fortunate that I still receive all the promos from the many PR companies. Vlad, shout out to Vlad from where I used to be a DJ.
Shout out to Vlad.
And I was looking at all these promos and thinking, well, I used to do this a long time ago, talking to people from music, even on old shoutcast radio streams and stuff. And I thought, I need to, as you said, find this focus to do this. Look, yeah, of course, we have a giggle, we have the humor. It would be boring without that. I don't just want to see robots. So, tell us about track 2. Yeah, that's great. Now on to track 3. Blah, blah, blah. I hate those are horrendous, man.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, how can I do something where I'm talking to people such as yourselves from music, helping that music get out there? Because look, yeah, of course, I'm a metal punk hardcore guy, but I love other music. I'm just a music fan at the end of it. I love music.
Yep. God bless you. I mean, honestly, that's how music gets out to the people. We're talking about but that's how people find about music now. It's just because people like yourself are so passionate about it. We're so grateful as artists for you. I mean, to be honest, it's so
man.
Great. And thank God for that. I mean, so much of the industry nowadays, whether it be people booking shows, people working at shows, people in road crews, studios, everyone's doing it because they love it.
Yeah.
It's not they're doing it because they want to get rich. You know what I mean? And that kind of passion needs to be sort of commended.
Absolutely.
As you've probably noticed, and thank you very much, I can talk about music and movies literally all day. If you both said, "Hey guys, tonight we've got, this would be maybe a punishment for you here. You've got 5 hours free." Oh yes, sure. As long as I've got a plentiful supplies of snacks and drinks, I can easily go on Star Wars, all music, and easily done. So it's the point was I can relate with the inspirations you're drawn from, that substance, particularly with my ongoing challenges, and it's why I wanted to do something where I'm helping the music. I'm talking to people from all genres, help them get out there, and perhaps others can see those common relatable qualities as well. And I say, and that's why, like when we were chatting about Drop the Call, it's probably why I think that's increasing popularity as well, not just of the music, just thinking, well, hey, it's, it's a simple, catchy title, something you remember. People can remember. Oh, have you heard this song, Drop the Call by whatever? It's not like, when you get some bands, sometimes it's like a paragraph as the title. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to pronounce? I used to hear that.
And the whole half paragraphs in parentheses too. So is that the title or is the parentheses?
Same bands, yeah.
Or you get those you can't read as well, or it's in, I used to
death metal bands you cannot read the band, all I know.
He's like, what's your name again? I'm like,
well, our art and creativity, like art is a way for people to connect, man. It's how we communicate with one another. You know what I mean? Everybody just, nobody wants to feel alone, so music and art, it helps us both figuratively and literally, right? Dude, Gaz, I think it's awesome getting to meet you. And as far as I'm concerned, you're a new friend, man. So this is one of the benefits of being a musician and creating art. We get to meet cool new people and connect with, just connect with people.
Likewise, guys. Yeah, definitely. So I'll just go a little serious for a moment or two. I will ask about Jude as well, the vocals. So, Love on the Wire, more now. This
That's the Jude, the autobiographical Jude song, right? No. Jude is a wonderful, incredibly sweet, kind person. This song is not written about her. This one's actually really cool. This is a song where Ryan did the majority of the music on this song. The only thing I did actually contribute was the bridge. Ryan did all the music on that, kind of presented that to me. And I remember listening to it and thinking like, okay, what's this song about? And I knew it was kind of bluesy. It's got kind of almost like a Bad Company, White Snake kind of thing happening. And I remember thinking, okay, well, this is about the worst person you can imagine. They're doing terrible things and not feeling guilty about it at all. And we had to bring our sweet, awesome, amazing vocalists in to sing this song about this horrendous woman just completely toying with this person's feelings and not feeling even a little bit of guilt about it.
Yeah, I think that I think the first proof of the lyrics came in like right before we brought Jude into the project.
Yeah.
So we did a gender switch on the lyrics.
Yep.
Which I thought was fun, right? It added kind of a cool new dynamic.
Yeah, because originally it was a guy being the scumbag.
I always imagined it was David Lee Roth.
Yeah. But basically, the idea that the sort of mission statement for the main character of the song is that everyone is here just at my pleasure. That's all that matters, is what makes me feel good. I don't care about that. And also, if you thought I was more than that, you're stupid. And that's
right.
That's basically what it. And we've all met people like this. We all met people who don't have any kind of empathy or caring for. They just go from sensation seeking to sensation seeking to sensation. They don't. Everyone else is just a cog in their wheel, basically.
These people are called narcissists.
Yep. Well, there's many other things you can add on top of that too, but
yes, I was going clinical. Yeah.
From a lyrical perspective, it's pretty straightforward in the song to listen to the lyrics, and then the breakdown is saying love. It's just explaining that love is a fool's game, is basically what it's saying on the bridge. And if you thought it wasn't, then you're an idiot. That's kind of the sort of that's maybe it's one of the more straightforward lyrical songs. And then from the musical perspective, Ryan, talk about that, man. Like, was it Whitesnake inspired? Like, what was the
yeah, well, kind of that, like a White Snakey kind of more bluesy groove. It's once again just another like riff that was kind of knocking around in my head. You know what I mean? It kind of swings, right? So I guess that's my contribution to the songs that swing category there, right? The song starts out with that. So the opening. So I'm a big fan of what's called the planting your flag riff, or musical movement, which is I stole that concept from Steve Stevens from Billy Idol's band. If you listen to Shadowlock, there's that gong, that big D5 with the harmony on top of it. That kind of plants the flag for the song, right? If it's rising, there's that opening riff that kind of gets the listener's attention. It plants the flag. It's like we're going to plant the flag at the top of the hill, and everyone's going to rally together around this song. Well, for this tune, I planted the flag with its E7 sharp 9, the Hendrix chord, followed by an E7 flat 9. You'll notice it never appears again anywhere else in the song. It's just a planting your flag riff. So, yeah, I just wanted to plant my flag with those chords and then go into this kind of more swingy, bluesy kind of riff. Yeah. So, sometimes it's like that, right? When I sit down to write, I'll have like a design goal.
doesn't that kind of music though fit so well, that subject matter?
Oh yeah,
It
Sure.
just goes with it, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's
we've got
what it does.
Scott to thank. He's our master lyricist, man. Did a great job.
You know what's funny too is I think that's what's cool about our band is that we aren't pigeonholed necessarily in one. We can do a song like Shadowlock, which is an epic like sci-fi thing, and then we do something like Drop Call, which is more melodic, and then we can do something like either I Can't Wait, which is like a swinging kind of hard rock thing, and then this is also kind of a swinging hard rock thing. I feel like we've got a lot of diversity into the kind of music we play. It's not just one dimensional. And I think that's something I really appreciate. All my favorite bands I've ever been into are like that. They don't. You can't listen to one song and say this is what this band sounds like. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Even though it sounds like the same band, but it's like different aspects of the same band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It keeps it interesting. It's certainly never boring from a creative aspect. So then it's like, there could be one moment where I know we're going to make, say, a whole power metal album, or we're going to put the emphasis on swing throughout an entire album, or a mix, whatever. You can keep changing up. Like in the description says on the website, it's got the mix of, progs in there, power metals in there, even some of the thrashy axe riffs are in there, on the heavier songs. So you get someone who listens, and again, I'm going to have to put this out as a disclaimer. I'm not Lucas in the band. Anyone who listens, man, they aren't going to go away and think, right, I can just solely hear this particular one subgenre. There is, there's a lot in there contained, even the bluesy side, as we've, you've just been saying. And that makes an interesting experience when particularly you've got that emphasis on the story, the kind of journey aspect of, say, going through some horrendous experiences and then trying to find yourself again. Particularly this one, male and female narcissists, shock horror folks. There is not all men are evil. There is bad women as well. Evil is in everything. Evil doesn't care what gender you are. Evil's evil.
Yeah.
And you're definitely right about like, is love a fool's game? Even the White Snake, very famous song, is this love? Is this love? You've got one person who's fully invested and say that relationship isn't equal. It's always more on one side, or that person, like you said, these people see constant validation, constant entitlement. Everything has to be their way. When it's not, everybody else is wrong. No matter what, it's everybody else's fault. There's no accountability. There's no willingness to compromise, to apologize. Sometimes you have to do that, even if well, hey, I'm not wrong. You've got to think, I've got to put that aside for the sake of peace. So this is another relatable one, and it's a deep song. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a popular one in the future for those reasons.
Cool. Thank you,
well, no, but seriously, think about it. Everybody has gone through something. Well, I wish hopefully not everybody has. But for those that have been through this or know someone, it's not always romantically either. It can be in a work situation, someone abusing their power, and thinks, right, just because I bring in the most business here to the office, so this gives me a license, so I can just abuse everybody around me because I increase the profit base here. I'm like, there's a way to do things. There's a way to be civil. There's a way we can still achieve those goals with being courteous, etc. Something which politicians need to learn. Sadly, probably never will.
It's so sad, man. I know exactly what you mean. There's behavior I see from some of our elected officials that I would be embarrassed if my 5-year-old did that. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, you should be an adult. You should know better than that. You know what I mean? If you're working I had to say out of business, I would fire you, man. I wouldn't want someone working for me who has that level of the capacity to actually act like an adult. You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that's
I think in business too. I mean, I think an important part of growing up is learning how to see these kind of people, right? The love on the wire antagonist, right? Whether it's in personal matters or professional matters. Part of growing up is and all of us have to have certain experiences with that antagonist. Yeah. And then we have to deal with it in a healthy way so we can become the people we want to be and have the relationships we want to have. Again, both personally and professionally. So, yeah.
Well said, Ryan. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It's about having, like we were saying earlier, it's having the right people around you, rather than people who are just going to suck that energy away and always be downbeat and negative. There's, there's always something wrong. There's just every day, nothing goes by without there being a problem. And it just, again, my movie mind thought of this when I think you were mentioning Jude's vocals, Scott, and I thought, man, you could do something like a follow-up to this in the future, say, where you've got Jude's vocals, and you can have the male counterpart vocals, and you could have it like the victim's vocals, then the antagonist vocals.
Oh, I got you.
Coming at them like this.
Duets,
yeah, and you've got the antagonist who's like, what? There is nothing wrong. You're the one with the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it in this way. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
it's great.
That dynamic just popped in my head as you were, nerding
if
again.
you knew Jude though, like having her sing these kind of lyrics.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's so unfair.
She's definitely playing a character.
Well, she's not here today. She's still
not here right now,
recording in the process.
She's a sweetheart. You know, and the idea
Shout out to
like,
Jude.
I'm gonna just completely destroy this human being and feel no guilt. This thing that Jude would ever do.
Well, so now Judith does have a background in theater, so
that's true.
So that was one of the qualities that she brought to the table that was appealing to us. That and Scott and I didn't. We write vocal melodies on our guitars, vocal melodies and harmonies.
Yeah.
So we needed a singer who had the power and the range to sing whatever we composed.
Yep.
Which is a tall order, right?
Yeah.
So and then Jude, made it through with flying colors.
I crushed it.
So,
so let's continue on that before we go into the rest of the songs. We'll jump into the vocals now. She certainly brings that. She encapsulates, I think, the feeling in the songs in her voice, as you said, with her range. For those that don't know, how did you form this pair? I mean, I've read about it, but for those who maybe haven't visited the website or anything, polite way of putting it, those who are too lazy to read.
Well, Brian and I have actually known each other since like just out of high school, so we've known each other for a while now. I moved to LA right after school, actually after high school, and went to music school down at Musicians Institute at GIT in Los Angeles, and then when I moved back. Brian and I kind of reconnected and we were friends again. And then I went off, got married, had a bunch of kids. Then we hadn't talked for about maybe 5-10 years. And then we kind of reconnected again because we started teaching at the same place again. Yeah. We've always had a great rapport. We've always loved the same kind of music. We were in the same kind of guitar playing. In fact, 2 guitars I used when I was doing my solo band's first record, Brian sold me. So we've known it forever, basically. And then we just decided, you know what, we should just get together and write, man. Let's see what comes out of it. And then we kind of brought some of our own stuff. I brought some stuff to the table. He brought some stuff to the table. We co-wrote a bunch of things. And then we kind of kept chipping away at it until we had, a full album's worth of songs. And then we had the arrangements set up. We started recording the guitars for real. And then once they were recorded for real, and we had drums and everything, and our drummer, Alex Boston, did a great job on that.
Alex Boston's awesome, of Lunar and Helium Prime fame.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Anyway, we had those things done, and we knew we needed a vocalist. We had the guitar melodies that were basically in place of the vocals, so we needed to find someone who could do that. And Jude, having the theater background and having essentially limitless range, she could sing anything, which is incredible. And she's game to sing it. That's something that's actually really important to note, is that not only can she do it, she's happy to do it, which is actually a really, really fun thing. A lot of singers aren't like that. A lot of singers, like, they have got their lane, they want to stay in their lane. The idea of, I'm going to come in and just do whatever you guys want me to do, was awesome, and that just unlocked us creatively. I'm just totally talking all the time, Ryan. Go ahead and try.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm just agreeing, man. Keep going. Yeah,
and she's just the perfect singer for the band. We always kind of imagined. I mean, I don't know. We necessarily jumped out the gate thinking it would be a female vocalist initially. We probably thought we'd have a male vocalist, but considering where the melodies were that we ended up writing, considering that we've always been big fans of bands like Queensryche and Iron Maiden, who have that just huge range, that giant kind of operatic thing. It ended up becoming a no-brainer that it would be a female vocalist, and we've always really liked that kind of stuff too. And not only like artists like, say, Ann Wilson from Heart, or Pat Benatar for like Pat Benatar, amazing vocalist, Stevie Nicks, and then in the metal world you got like the Amy Lees of Evanescences,
Jill Janis from
Jill Janis, exactly right. You know what I mean? All the singers from Nightwish, that kind of stuff that really have a good combination. Something about the beautiful female vocals with metal is such a great combination.
Unleash the Archers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. A few of the bands like that. So what are your thoughts on that, Ryan, about Jude coming into the band?
Oh, well, so Jude's also a colleague, so she also teaches vocal lessons. And for the longest time, her studio was a few doors down from mine, which just happened. I had to walk past her studio to go to the bathroom. So I would hear her.
There's a story.
Yeah, exactly. So and the copy machine was there too. So I walked past her studio several times a day just during my work day. And that's how I knew that she had the chops to do whatever Scott and I compose. Yeah, and so once we had the songs written, arranged, and had demos recorded, I approached her and she was down.
Yep, and
the rest is history.
Crushed it out the window, man.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
Got three follow-up questions here. Another multi-layered one. The first part. Do you think that she's now happy to go outside of the lane vocally because she's found a band where she has the freedom to do that with yourselves? Because musically, as you said yourself, Scott, you don't just stay in one avenue. There's bits of everything there. So this is like an environment where she is free to do that. So that would be my first question. Do you think that's whether intentional or not? As I say, it's just that natural chemistry and pairing. I can do this. This is great. Let's see what we can do together.
Yeah, I mean, she said as much that she feels very free to just do. I mean, because she has a theater background too, and there's certain parts of the album where she's definitely bringing that theater out too. And on the bluesier songs, I remember initially wondering, gosh, is this musical theater person with this amazing, beautiful voice, is she gonna be able to sing this like gritty, like Roadhouse blues rock stuff? And she nailed it. She's got that Aretha Franklin thing sometimes when we need it.
You noticed
big voice,
and it's something I don't even think she knew she had. And then we started asking, hey, can we get this kind of thing? And she was like, sure. And she would try it and it would be right there. And the range, I mean, her pitch is flawless. Her ability to like do harmonies, she's not like a person in the studio that's going to be all day doing harmony. She nails it very quickly. You know what I mean? It's, and we're not doing simple stuff. I mean, this is stuff that's pretty high range and she's nailing it,
Yep. I think it was clear again, since we're work colleagues, I also felt comfortable approaching Jude because I know she's a professional.
Yeah.
Right. That would be a lot different than just getting out into the internet recruiting a singer. Right. You never know what you're going to wind up with unless it's somebody that's already well established. Right. So
it's like lottery, isn't it?
Yeah. So we knew that Jude was a professional and I dig it. She did a great job.
Yeah, when that fire and that soul is added, and again, you're drawing that from the bluesy element as well, where a singer has that in the voice, even if they are from that scene or not, because like you said with Aretha, some of them just naturally have that. Man, I just feel you had that with rock or heavy metal as well. It just adds something to it where it's when I've heard something like that, it always grabs my ears. There's they're a bit of a stoner kind of doom band. I don't know if they're still active. What the hell were they called? And quite psychedelic.
There's quite a few bands in that genre.
Yes, I haven't narrowed it down, but it's one girl's vocals I'm particularly trying to think of. Jexthoth, that's it, Jexthoth. Okay. I'm not sure where they are from. I'm not sure if they're American or Canadian, but she literally has that kind of 60s hippie vibe in the vocals. I mean, musically they're very much like that anyway. Nice. But it's haunting, but in that beautiful way where like it just grabs you. Now she's bringing that from a theater background. And my other point I was thinking of, she was saying like she was having to sing about this horrible person. And I often say sometimes with writers or actors when they have to play a part that is so out of character, that is the quintessential opposite to their nature and everything they're about, that it really affects them. I remember I'm a huge history nerd as well, and I was reading about a guy who played Sherlock Holmes, not Basil Rathbone. I think it was called Jeremy Brett, and he was in like a TV series of Jeremy Holmes, Sherlock Holmes.
Jeremy Holmes' cousin. That's like a Netflix thing.
Yeah. Coming soon. Yeah. The Disney edition.
You need to include the Predator in that.
Yeah.
Well, it makes everything better, right?
It does.
Yeah.
But I enjoy, nerding and reading about the history of things as well. And, and I was reading about, the history of Sherlock Holmes one day. And this guy was saying, I read about this guy that he actually fell ill after playing a character that was, I'm not saying Sherlock Holmes is evil or anything, but like because he'd immersed himself so much in the role, as a lot of these actors do, the method acting. Yeah. And he said it made him. I remember reading something that made this guy ill. I might have the details 100%. And I thought they must feel like, even with singers, when it's like, I'm going to have to put myself in a position of being this horrible monster or something. I think it's easy to do when it's horror, sci-fi, fantasy. It's like, I'm going to pretend I'm a demon. I'm going to pretend I'm an alien, because it's a fantasy escapism. But when it's something from real life, like this could be a real person based on a real person, whatever, I think that must be more uncomfortable to do. Because it's like, man, this is, so horrible. So there was a question wrapped up in there, but that question.
So exciting though, she was down for it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like one of those things like, I don't know about this. She's let's do it. Let's go ahead and make it happen.
I think what's great about this band is that, we all like each other.
That's true.
Yeah, that helps, doesn't it?
Yeah. Everybody gets along. Nobody has a problematic personality. We're all pulling on the same rope. So,
It's amazing what you can do when you don't care who gets the credit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just put the egos aside. Think of what you're creating from a business sense. Think of the product. Put that out there. And hey, folks, and that's all you need to do. Not just in music as well. So coming on to the next one, This Fire. This is what I love about with all these songs, man. They're open to so many different ways of interpretation. This Fire, I guess we could think of dragons as well, in a sense as well, but not just that. Artillery fire too, space barrage, cruiser firing on something. I'm off again. So I'm going to stop from my nerding for a short time again. So could you both tell us about this song, both with the music, when you first started getting it down, thinking, right, I'm happy with this, let's put something together, and then the lyrics on top of that, and then vocally as well?
Well, see, this song's working title was Chris E. Lee for a long time. And essentially the few people who inspired the riffs the most are Chris Oliva from Sabotage and Jake E. Lee from Ozzy Osbourne's band in Badlands. So the verses definitely have like a Jake kind of feel, and then the pre-verses have like a more of a Chris Oliva Sabotage. I'm a huge fan of the band Sabotage, have been forever. It's one of my all-time faves. So I'll write a riff, and I'll kind of realize, oh, that's definitely like channeling Chris Oliva. That's because that's just so in my DNA, and so and I don't hear a lot of other guitar players doing that. It kind of it seems kind of so tragic to me. He's got such a great vibe, and I'm not trying to ape his vibe, but it's got that kind of feel. And so this song was definitely, to me, just a straight ahead like mid-tempo thumper, sort of a heavy song, but not getting into the thrash world, but like mid-tempo metal. And from a lyrical standpoint, this is really just about finding a reason to get up in the morning. Like even if you're feeling terrible, feeling like everything's going to fall apart, like the world sucks, no one loves me, my job sucks, I'm broke, I live in a terrible place. What is the fire that gets you getting up in the morning and do what you're going to do? And you got to keep finding that. You know what I mean? That's something that you've got to. That to me, that's what I was thinking writing the lyrics of this tune. I know, Ryan, what was your take on putting it together and maybe Jude's vocals?
Well, I think I'm glad you mentioned that. So we've spoken earlier about how Scott and I write all the melody lines for the vocals on our guitars first, right? We demo that up. But of course, Jude's got creative contributions too. Yep. And I think this song in particular, Jude added a harmony to the chorus that just elevated the whole entire track.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely worth.
When we heard what she did, it's like going, wow, that's so much better than what I imagined.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, and I think it's so innocent too. It's not like she's thinking, I'm going to try and put my stamp on this. It's just like, hey, I can imagine this idea, and let's try it. And we tried it. And like, wow, that's a lot better now.
Yeah, and it seemed really intuitive too. Like, I don't think that she music theoried it out.
No,
I think she just heard it and sang it, and it was perfect, and it was awesome. So
yeah,
really.
Exactly.
So when you listen to the chorus of that tune, that's a really special moment.
Yeah.
Isn't that good going forward as well? That she's got that creative input there. I know I touched on this in the last question, but yeah, that already has me thinking as a listener for your next release. So is her input going to increase? You know, have you already started on working something together, perhaps?
We're still at the very early stage of putting songs together for the
Right.
next one, so we probably got like 4 or 5 like rough ideas ready to go.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, she's we're gonna get ready to start doing some live stuff too, so we'll be with each other a lot more. And I think once that stuff's more fully formed, we can really get into like, okay, what's the? I mean, she's understanding that we're not precious about things. If she's got a great idea, then the best idea should always win.
Yeah,
regardless
best
of
idea wins. Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think we always want to start with like a structure. Like, this is what we're seeing. This is the lyrics. This is what we've seen the melodies being. And if she has an idea, we're like, hey, we should do left turn, or let's change this. You know, we're both, Brian and I are always super open to that sort of thing, as long as, you know, we all agree this makes the product better at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we set up the chicken wire, and we have idea death match. They just play at each other. We place bets. Yeah. You know, it's fun, creative process.
Our own personal creative cockfighting ring. Yeah.
Deathmatch wrestling.
Yes. Yeah. It's like the chessboard in Star Wars.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I think that. There you go.
Yeah. Are we all still here?
Yeah, we're still here. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I thought something had happened there as well. I thought it was the dropped call. No, we're still here.
There was a Disney lawyer trying to stop our podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, I want more say.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, guys, I'm already thinking. I mean, we've still got some, you know, a lot more to talk about with the other songs as well. But you know, she is welcome, and your drummer as well, on to do a full show with all of you, so we can get all the perspectives.
Thank you so much. That's
the next
one.
No,
absolutely.
you're welcome.
We'll definitely take you up on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So coming into now, you talked about earlier, Ryan, with the second track on an album being the most important. Now, me personally, as well, I think not just for having a good final close or a good outro, but the second from last song I think is important as well, because, you know, as I was mentioning earlier, you know, we get some bands, well, just I'm going to throw on filler just to make up the length of the album. You know, you're certainly not doing that, and I think the Hourglass is, from an imaginative point from the title and the writing. Again, it conveys a lot of different interpretations. The obvious, the hourglass of time. I've only got so much time. I need to get to a better place in my life before it is too late, before I'm kind of sat there, you know, looking back thinking, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd tried to do this. I would never have known. All of that kind of stuff. You could even take it in, and again, this is my nerdy imagination, in a horror kind of sense as well. There's only so much time left before the demon decides to he's bored of me as his plaything or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways, you know, and they've got the psychological horror where you could go with this as well. So I'm just wondering, you know, to both of you, what inspired this particular one, why you felt it was important to place it at this point of the album. I have my own theory on it, but it's not about my theory, obviously. And then how you matched up the music to fit with the placing.
Well, Ryan,
this
what's
is more
about
like composition? The Hourglass is so.
Yeah, and as far as why is this spot, I think we kind of just felt that was the right spot for it.
Yeah.
Just felt like what was, you know, this song always fools me, because when I think about the Hourglass, I think, oh, it's super heavy. It's just a heavy song, and then we get to the chorus. It's like this super melodic, beautiful chorus. And I've been keeps reminding me of that. Like, that's actually got a really hooky chorus. Like, oh yeah, that's a chorus on it. Because to me, it always feels like this brooding, heavy song. You know, another 7-string song. You know, yeah, you pretty much nailed it. I always try and be somewhat ambiguous with the lyrics, but I think this one to me is just about don't waste your time. You don't have enough time to live a life you don't want to live.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. There's like we talked about on Not My Kind, what Brian was talking about. You know, living a life that you didn't really choose for yourself. Someone else chose your life for you. You know what I mean? And the Hourglass to me is just a reminder that there is a ticking clock. This doesn't go forever. You know what I mean? And why are you living one more day in a life you don't want to live when you have the power to do whatever you want to do? You just have to decide. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. You know, that's the I mean, I'm very concrete about that in the pre-chorus on this song. You know, all that stands between you and the life you want to live is you.
I was getting that sense, Scott. Like it was saying, like take control of yourself for your destiny. You know, who do you want to be? Because at the end, yes, you can be, say, in a position of not your choosing or be trapped in something, but at the end of it, we ourselves have the power to change that position and to be, no, I'm not going to waste this time. I want to use it positively, as you said, and do this. And that came across in the lyrics.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like such an obvious thing, and I feel like it takes so much courage to just follow your own path. And it's very, I mean, it's shocking to me how few people do that. You know, most people just take the safe way. Hey, what are you doing? I'm a business major. What are you gonna do? I'm probably gonna get a mid-level accounting job, and I'm just gonna have, you know, a nice 401k, and I'm gonna, you know, work 50 hours a week, and you know, it's like, well, is that what you want to do? You know what I mean? That's you're young. Why are you choosing this path that you don't want? Is it because you're scared? I mean, you only get to live once. You know what I mean? You don't look back on this, you know, 50, 60 years from now and think, gosh, I wish I hadn't wasted my life. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the feeling of the song. That's kind of what I'm
no, totally. I think it can be about timing and chemistry. It can happen to people, whatever stage they're at in their life. It's if it's you feel something calling to you, this is what you want to do, always wanted to do, and you feel you really, really want to try it, then try it. It even if it's slow steps, it doesn't matter. Take that journey and just keep taking an extra step. Again, I'm doing it myself with this show. I'm talking music. I love music, so I'm hey, it's such a small channel. Yeah, it's such a small channel at the moment. It is, but I'm like, no, I'm going to be on here. I'm usually live every day up until 5 p.m. your time. You know, and I'm like, hey, let's open it up to all music. I've been saying this to guests a lot as well. It's sometimes I get asked by you know, bands in an email or something, you know, do you have to like our music to come on the show? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, okay, if I like it, I mean, it helped, but no, I'm not going to say no. I'm still interested in talking to you about everything involved with why you're creating and playing music. You know, there's no prerequisite. Guys just must like your music. If that was the case, hell, I'm not going to open up myself to anything else. Expand my thinking, expand my palette. It's going to get boring if it's just me sat, you know, talking to Gaz's favorite classics or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know,
being a doer, it solves a great many problems.
Yeah,
you know, and that's something that I really appreciate about my collaboration and friendship with Scott, is that we don't just talk about doing things, we do them.
Yeah.
You know,
well, and there's nobody stopping you from doing them either. That's the thing. That's right. People get stuck at the front door. It's like, well, do you want to do that? Then do that. You know, that's as simple as that. You know, it doesn't make sense to me why the people feel these artificial limitations in what they can do or not. You know, and that's not to say it's anything that you're trying to tackle is easy or going to come easy or even guaranteed success. But there's the old saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know what I mean? So having courage about life, I think that's the key. You know what I mean? That's what this song's about. And I think you know, Hourglass is just sort of reminding people like this doesn't go on forever. You don't get to just, you know, waste 20, 30 years doing something you don't want to do. And then it's not going to just be there for you at the end. You basically just took some of that precious grains of sand from that hourglass and it's gone. You know what I mean? And I don't know, that's what it means to me. And, you know, honestly, I'm going to say, I really think that what you said is very important about anybody in the arts, you know, having courage and following their heart and being willing to do that and not letting, it's because it's so easy to like tell someone that's stupid or there's no way you can be successful in this, or, you know, that's something it's just not helpful to hear. You just have to block that out and just go after what your passion is, and then recognize that the reward may be sort of nebulous as to what it is, but you followed your passion. You had the courage to follow through on something you wanted to do, and that in itself is victory. You know what I mean? That's something that that's how I feel. You know.
Yep.
Well, it's rewarding, and it makes you feel happier, and then you feel happier. You give that then back to other people. That positivity increases. That makes them feel happy. So it's a win-win in that sense.
Yep.
So no, totally. And again, another very relatable and fitting track that pretty much typifies life in many, many aspects. So the closing, now this, believe me, this is where I have to behave my nerdy imagination. As you can gather with the backgrounds.
Yeah, love it. Yep.
I'm absolutely mean no offense by this. I'm probably going to upset some. I'm just sticking to the chair if you're wondering why I'm moving. So yeah, nice folks. There's a mental image people want to forget. But now Tokyo, oh my! Now my mind went crazy because the first part, and again being into martial arts and everything, was thought, yeah, classic Tokyo, samurai era, etc. All of that went through my mind, as well as blossom trees, petals falling, geisha girls writing haikus, a samurai meditating, all of that jazz, everything, man. And then the absolute other end of the spectrum, this is where the sci-fi comes in. I thought of kind of Blade Runner, cyberpunk, futuristic Tokyo, neon lights, sky cars, everything going through, people wearing the long cyber jackets. That comes, so I was kind of hit with this double edge. And again, this is a problem sometimes having an overactive visual imagination. I'm like, God, I want to put this just into one thought process, and I'm being hit by everything at once.
Awesome.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, if I ever try writing at one point, that is going to be such a headache to try and deal with it. It's going to could end up
really a lot of ideas.
Dude, man, you just made my day, Gaz. That's awesome. That's exactly what that song is.
This is primarily a Ryan write as far as the music goes. He came up with that whole beginning part. Go ahead and tell the story, Ryan.
Yeah, well, so first of all, great rock guitar lives in Japan, and it always has.
Yeah.
Right.
Even in the '90s, it did.
Yes. Well, Scott and I bemoan the state of rock music, popular rock music in the '90s in America. Some very bad things happened. But in Japan, they didn't, and so
they just skipped that whole decade. I'm not sure how they got lucky like that. Like, hey,
they were just smart about it.
We're gonna opt out. We're not gonna do the '90s. Sorry.
They're like, no, we're still gonna go see Mr. Big at the Budokan. Nirvana, who?
Yeah.
So
playing the Budokan, and
Yeah, so I've got a deep and abiding love for anime. Love a lot of Japanese bands. So it's just kind of my love letter, musically speaking. To all of that stuff, right? The song's got a pretty wild key change in it, a lot of mood changes. There's a lot of meat on the bone musically with that track. I think it meets the bar for epicness. I think it makes a great album closer. It's just really great to hear your feedback on it.
It's not one dimensional either. That song's got a lot of different vibes. It kind of goes up and it comes back down. It goes back up. It comes back down.
Cinematic, I hope.
Yeah,
very, very. That's the impact it had on me, and I thought it was a good, strong close because sometimes, as well, I was mentioning about filler being put on albums just to build out the length. It's still important to have a good close because you want that memory going with you after you've listened, especially as a fan. It's to I want something that's going to encourage me to start over again, to go back. Not kind of, I've got halfway through and said the last couple of tracks fall off. So that close, folks, whether it is a closing full song or sometimes, bands will do the good outro, a bit like the intro you did. It's still got to be good because you've got to go away with that satisfaction of, yeah, man, I enjoyed this. It had a good end to that album. I'm going to revisit this, or it makes me I'm going to start the journey straight away again. So I thought it was, like you said, Ryan, very cinematic. My imagination just went absolutely crazy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Cass. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I should probably mention lyrically on the song that neither Ryan nor I have ever been to Tokyo. So this is really a metaphorical Tokyo that we're talking about in this one. And to me, with Tokyo, when we knew the song was called Tokyo from the beginning, so when I went to do the lyrics, I was like, what's this going to be about? I mean, because I can't speak firsthand. I know this. So what it is in my mind is it's about any kind of thing that's precious to you in the view of this eye, being in Tokyo, seeing the cherry blossoms.
Yeah.
That memory of something precious to you and like letting go of it, that kind of thing, and living in the now is kind of what the metaphorical Tokyo of the song is about.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So it's not necessarily literally about the Tokyo as much as we love Japanese culture in Tokyo. So it isn't about that per se. It's a metaphorical Tokyo.
Yeah, but that's still very cool in that sense as well. You know, like, and I like that. And if you, I mean, God, even now, just talking about it, and again, I'm seeing someone just sat there writing haikus again. I mean, I can demonstrate. I wonder just how nerdy I am if I can find it.
Please nerd away.
You got a
One-
book of haikus.
It's not. Oh no, yes, I have found it. It's not a book of haikus, but this guy, I showed somebody this on a recent show. Trying to remember which show it was, or it might have been off air. But this, I've got the Book of Five Rings, Miyamoto Musashi's. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh
folks.
yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
that is so cool.
And this
Love it.
dude, oh man, this guy is super interesting because he became a swordsman at the age of 15. He'd already, killed so many people. I'm not saying that to go out there and do that at all, folks. And that's not why I admire the guy before anybody did.
Like, oh, he killed so many people.
Yeah.
I think they've changed the requirements for your swordsman's license since
Yes,
then.
it's true.
I think,
Yeah.
but yeah.
You have a very intense, like, little training measurement you have to do, like 6
Yeah.
months, I think, and yeah.
Yeah.
You have to get your sword permit for like 3 months.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So this guy was one of the most successful samurais that's ever lived. But what people don't know about him as well, when he stopped doing the killing, he became a very spiritual guy and wrote a lot of kind of life lessons based on all his experiences, how to, I guess, be better both to yourself and those around you. And it's really interesting getting kind of that guy's thoughts from that time back, in ancient Japan out there, and just shows how, I guess, some of those positive qualities, I'm not about the killing side, the spiritual side, is still relevant today. And I think perhaps we forget sometimes, and that's a perfect excuse for me to say. And that's why I think with some of the lyrics in your songs, as we've been discussing, is people can find that grain to relate to, for that reason. And then, as you said, Scott, right, I think at the start, encouraging people to be positive and be more self-empowering in that way. So yeah, it's an interesting reading. Again, folks, a disclaimer, I don't admire him because he killed so many people as a samurai. That's not where I was going with it at all.
Yes.
Just in case someone says, what's this lunatic, nothing like that.
Gaz, what's the name of the book again?
The Book of Five Rings.
Got it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check that out.
Interesting read.
What's funny is I had a similar experience. I was reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
The Roman Emperor.
The Roman Emperor, and reading the Meditations. It's literally almost like journal entries that he did to himself. Yeah. They've kind of survived from antiquity to now. And what's interesting is, much like you're saying with the Book of Five Rings, it's like so funny, not funny, haha, but amazing how the stuff that people were dealing with then, they were just people then too, just like now. Everyone is still trying to find their place in the universe. Everyone's still trying to understand the world around them and navigate the diversity, no matter who you were, no matter what time you lived in. That's just part of the human condition. You know what I mean? And I find that really reassuring in a way to kind of read something from, okay, this is from 2000 BC, and they're still struggling with the same problems then. You know what I mean? Still just
in the scale of the universe, 2,000 years really isn't that long.
No, and you think, and if we put the sci-fi angle on that, if we go 2,000 years in the future, when we're probably out there, we've got colonies on various planets encountering other civilizations, that question's going to be even more relevant, and people will be, well, where's my place in the universe? We found out, say, there's been a civilization here that's been around for thousands of years we didn't even know about, or whatever. So then it's like, how do I fit into this new world as a human being? I've heard about that book by Marcus Aurelius a few times. It's on my bucket list to check out.
It's good.
A lot of people have recommended it, so I'll have to get around to that. The other thing that I liked, not to forget, was, and I'm again sci-fi reference again, folks.
Please.
Ex Aegis, the name in itself, which. So again, another multi-layered question. The name in itself, I'm interested in how you particularly came up with a name. And also, the album cover is just simply black with the lettering put on there, but it's very sci-fi and actually made me think a lot of kind of 2000 AD Rogue Trooper, Warhammer 40,000, and
Nice.
Star Wars as well with the font, you know, the like as you saw in the, you know, the cinema reels before the movie starts. With so I'm just curious there. How you come up with the name for the band originally, for those that, you know, maybe don't know, and did you intentionally go for great, an insect, go away, don't mind me again.
It's coming back for the finish.
Yeah, it's hard me. It's come for round two.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be saying that all week. I'll send you the invite in a couple of minutes. Yeah, so did you as well with the cover want to go for that kind of I know this contradicts what we were saying earlier about, you know, less isn't more. Simple is more look. It's got that catchy font, sci-fi look, simple black background stands out, catches your attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the name of the band is tough because there's so many different bands out there. What was important to me initially when we started talking about names for bands was that it not evoke a specific genre. Like I don't want to be like mutilate, death, and porters. Like, I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be like, you know, something too lilty neither. Like, you know, like I don't know, some kind of weird thing. I wanted to not really evoke any particular style of music. I want to just that's the name. It could be a Depeche Mode type band. It could be a metal band. It could be a pop band. That was the number one thing to me, is that it didn't have any specific genre baggage to the name.
Not limited. Yep.
Yeah. And then we just kind of tossed stuff around. And we just always loved like the ancient Greek and Roman kind of and Latin sort of language. And we just think it sounds epic and interesting and rich. You know what I mean? And it kind of suits the music that we do a little bit, I think. I don't know, Ryan, what do you think about the album cover? That we had a few ideas that we didn't go with before we came with the black. Well,
you know, it's well, I mean, so first of all, the name, you know, we are mashing up two different languages, but you know what, when you're, I mean, all of us creatively, we're the product of all of our influences, you know. So I like the idea of coming up with something that was just totally bespoke. So X is Latin for from the, as in like ex machina. Right, if you want to get sci-fi. Yeah, totally. And then Aegis is Greek for tool of the gods. So to us, it means from the tool of the gods. And, well, you know, I've got lots of those tools here in my studio.
Back there, too.
Yes, right. And, so, you know, I mean, we love guitars. There's lots of guitars. It's a guitar, partially guitar-oriented experience, you know. So and then in terms of the cover, it's a debut album, and the logo looks so cool.
I just thought why mess with it if it looks like that? It looks epic as it is. Like, why would we want to go in there? Like, we could add more things, whatever, maybe, but I thought it just looked very powerful just as it was. You know what I mean?
Well, we want to get that logo out there.
I like and I like the fact as well you said it matches the feel of your music, that it can be multi-genre, not really tied down to any one area, and I think that's a good thing. Really good way of promoting the band as well.
Yeah, I think there's something for everybody. You know what I mean? If you want something super heavy, we got that. If you want something melodic, we've got that. If you want more proggy or more cinematic, we've got that. You know what I mean?
If you like drums, Alex Boston's a thunderous drummer. If you like vocals, Judith Morgan's a killer singer. If you love guitars, there's something in there for you. Right. So
exactly. And you know, I just hope we're contributing to the metal conversation. You know, we're trying to just put our 2 cents out there and hope people dig it and hope they follow us and you know, come out to live shows, buy the records, stream it, whatever they got. That's our hope. So
Well, that's all any of us can do, and hopefully people recognize all of those elements we've been discussing. And they hear that, which I think they will. I mean, you've got to. It's clearly there, especially if you've got an open. No, it's the truth. If you've got an open imagination and mind, and anybody as well who's studied music theory and that side can look at it and look at the arrangements. It's all there. It's clearly present. Just quick off-topic question. Going back to Marcus Aurelius, and they were saying with the title, the Greek and Roman vibe there. So, what are you both anxious about this Gladiator sequel that's been announced by Ridley Scott?
I'm not anxious. I've got no hopes at all. I was gonna. I can't believe
I was being polite.
It's like, what are they doing? You know, it's like. I mean, maybe it'll be great. I don't know, but it's.
Is Ridley Scott directing it, or is he just executive producer?
Yeah.
Okay, so there really needs to be a third movie to wrap up the Prometheus Alien Covenant trilogy.
Yes, definitely.
You know, a bunch of fanboys just got online and ripped Covenant. It's actually not a bad movie. You know, I want to see the David the Android saga completed.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm bummed that a bunch of internet trolls squashed that third Alien movie. So I wish he were making that. But if Ridley Scott's making it, I'm sure it's going to be rad.
Yeah, I'm not hopeful. You know, it's like I don't know. I mean, it could be great. And Ridley Scott, you know, when you count him out, he brings his A game. So it's one of those things where, you know, whenever you think, he's not going to be able to do that, he'll bring it. Like
one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
I mean, really, that's a movie I didn't expect anything from, and that was great. That was an awesome movie.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And so who knows? But boy, I'm not hopeful. How about you guys?
I'm quite worried. Ridley Scott's from my region, so props to him. But I'm a little worried. I haven't read the full details. The latest I saw it was saying there is going to be apparently a character from the first movie who's going to be in this, so it's going to somehow tie it together. And I'm like, what's this going to be? Someone who maybe served with Maximus in the Teutoburg Forest? I don't know, from wherever, or I don't know, man. Look, I'll go with an open mind because I'll go with this mood. There is a hell of a lot worse. It can't be worse than another Marvel movie, which, you know, people will be like, "Oh, you've got spam." Look, yeah, I just don't like what Marvel has become, but that's a whole other show.
So if the new Gladiator movie opens with 3 red dots crawling up Baby Yoda's forehead, and then all of a sudden Baby Yoda's head explodes, and then Gladiator versus Predator, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. I can accept that.
That was totally making
franchises. Bring the Predator in. You know, the Predator, like when Harry met Sally meets Predator. It's perfect.
Right. Sally meets Predator.
Yeah, exactly. I have to find the way to show this woman I love her and survive the Predator at the same time. That'd be awesome. Come on.
Dude, that's instantly better, dude. Thank you, Scott. Finally.
Exactly. Love Actually and Predator.
Yes, right. Like Predator Actually.
Yeah.
There's that rom-com where Jennifer Lopez falls in love with Owen Wilson, but then she finds out Owen Wilson is a predator.
Oh, like he pulled the mask off Scooby-Doo
style?
Well,
no, they've got the stealth technology. It could just be like a cloak that makes the predator look like Owen Wilson. But then 3 red dots climb. Yeah, but then 3 red dots climb up Jennifer Lopez's forehead, and
oh my god!
There you go. I fixed it.
We found the magic secret to fix any.
I fixed every movie.
So whatever it is, even we can bring the Predator in. So relationship counselors worldwide say, you know, we're not getting anywhere. We've got a special guest coming in today. The Predator walks in. That'll bring people together. The fear and the need for survival will bring those
people all together. Yes, problems are really not that important, guys.
You know, you could say the same about the Xenomorph, though. Like, imagine if during the Obi-Wan series, right, baby Princess Leia actually like encounters a face hugger off screen. Okay, and then later on, like while Obi-Wan is like fighting Darth Vader in that terrible fight sequence, then the chest burster bursts out of baby Princess Leia. Right, we can find out later that the other Princess Leia was a clone because, you know, Star Wars cloning.
I'm getting the sense you were such a fan of baby Princess Leia, and I'm guessing that scene in Obi-Wan where she managed to run at the speed of light and outrun these trained like soldiers and mercenaries. That was just so good and believable.
So cringy and bad. Like where she's hanging on to like the handrail, like, and she's like, I should look this way. No, look that way. Maybe if I look this way, I won't get hit by a blaster.
Yeah.
Just stop putting little kids in Star Wars. Here's the thing.
You're such a curmudgeon, Ryan. Come on.
I'm not. Just like the thing about being a kid is that you're a little crazy person who's bad at doing things. Right? That's what being a kid is, and that's fine. But I don't want people bad at doing things in my entertainment.
That's the problem with it. As I was saying, I've no problem with them putting the kids in there because you're always going to have that with Star Wars. But it's the storytelling.
Except for the first 3 movies. The original 3 movies, no little kids.
Yeah. Well, the Ewoks, I guess, in one sense, furry kids. But
okay, those were height challenged adult actors.
Vertically challenged.
Those were vertically challenged adult actors, okay?
Yes. Fair enough.
Okay. Now, Ridley Scott did have children in the spacesuits when they discovered the space jockey to add scale to the set. But all they had to do was kind of like waddle around and bump into stuff. So that was like...
You're saying that's something
that was in their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
There's
I appreciate that about you.
It's just, let sci-fi and epic fantasy cinema be epic fantasy cinema. Let Paw Patrol be Paw Patrol. That's fine. I'm not saying there isn't room for both. It's great. I've taught the Paw Patrol theme song, a bunch of times. It's fine. But,
if it's done well, I mean, I'm not going to say every season was great because it wasn't, but at least Stranger Things did a good example of showing kids, who become teenagers with the storytelling was good. And this recent movie wasn't fantastic. And before people have a heart attack and think, is he going to mention when I say the word Ghostbusters and they think, is he on about the 2016 movie? God, no, I'm not. I'm on about the was it Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Yeah, Paul Rudd, right?
Yeah, okay, it wasn't absolutely fantastic, but I thought they did a good job of showing, like, I guess of we said of kids doing well in that scene. I guess they're certainly not the same age as Princess Leia, though.
I was gonna say, well, I mean, like Jake Lloyd in the Phantom Menace, like, wasn't he like 6 years old or something? Like, baby Princess Leia is like 6 years old. I mean, like, okay, if you're like, once you're like 11 or 12, then like, yeah, okay, I guess you can be in the production.
So did you really love the moment? And I'm not doing what I do with one of my friends, Mac, who I provoke into rants. I'm not doing that. Of course I am. Did you really enjoy that moment? Was it on the Whack Jedi where it was so quintessentially Disney and vomit worthy, where right at the end you see this little kid, I think, with a brush, and then he gets the Jedi ring and they say, "Hey, yeah, anybody can be a Jedi."
Yeah. I mean, I probably blocked it out of my memory. That was the Last Jedi. Yeah. And they told, okay, well, and then in like, was it Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin goes to like murder all the Padawans, but it cuts away. I had to imagine the murder of the Padawans. I want to see some.
You want them in Star Wars to show him slicing the heads off children?
Yes, the Padawans.
It needs to do with death metal band as well, doesn't it?
I want to see the raising of the Padawans.
And when Return of the Jedi, when Luke's like, you know what, Dad, I love you, so you're okay.
If you want.
And but you've seen that he murdered children, like in that other scene. Like,
if you want the character development, if you want me to really despise,
you know what I mean?
If you want me to feel the turn to the dark side, they need to slice up some Padawans. All right. I need some sliced Padawan.
I promise you guys, everybody listening to this, Ryan is like the nicest, most generous person you can imagine. So even though he's advocating for child murder right now, he's genuinely
I'm advocating for fictional child murder, okay, as a plot device. Like, I mean, no, okay, look, I'm not saying that any real Padawans should have been harmed during filming.
No real Padawans were.
They would have been CGI Padawans.
Yeah.
Because they don't use practical effects anymore, so they would have been CG Padawans.
So I'm getting a sense here, apart from maybe Scott can talk about this, apart from maybe the need to do a side band, a death metal band all about destroying Padawans and everything in Star Wars. That would maybe help get this rage out there.
Yeah, we got like Padawan Corpse. That would be awesome.
With George Pod Grinder Fisher,
or like One-A-Side.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. This is the fertile ground for let's do it.
Could have the most horrendous album cover ever.
Totally. Yeah. That's a great idea.
Back to the film property of Warhammer 40,000, Legions of Space Marines, and the Predator invading the Star Wars universe to deal with the Padawans.
Right,
that's the vibe I'm getting.
Like Padawan Deathwing.
There you go. Man, am I glad I write all the lyrics in this band.
Me too, I am not a lyricist.
That could have been a whole different conversation, and I could have been something like, so, I do have a band who are due on when we were talking about some of these funny titles. I have a band due on, I think it's this coming Sunday, possibly, and they're Canadian, and they're a death metal band, and they are called Hooker Spit. And the album cover is interesting. That's all I'll say. So I can imagine when I open up that one, I'll be like, so what inspired the Did you get something?
Yeah.
That's going to be a funny one. I mean, he seems a really cool dude. But yeah, that's going to be a very comedic one, I think, for sure. Because yeah, definitely. So, do you have any upcoming shows coming soon that are going to support the album, and any more videos coming as well that'll match some of the songs?
Live shows, we're just now starting to get rehearsals together for that and seeing what we can book in the short term. So that's going to come. It's going to probably be in the next few months, though. Nothing's imminent, nothing's booked yet. Videos, yes, for sure. Right now, we've got lyric videos for Head West, Not My Kind, and Rising available on. You can check them out on our website at www.exaegisband.com, and they're right there when you get into the site. You can actually find links to our social media there as well, and photos of the band, our bio. You can check out snippets for all the songs on the album as well. So if he's curious about checking out what we've been talking about, that's where they'd want to go. You can check out the lyric videos, on our website, on YouTube, our social media, all that stuff as well.
Yep, and again, that's EXAEGISBAND.com.
Yep. Exactly.
That's absolutely fantastic stuff, guys. I do want to seriously thank you both for coming on. You're welcome. You're welcome on this show anytime, as the rest of the band are as well. So any way I can help you, just get at me. We'll set something up. I want to shout out everybody who checked out the show, whether today or you watch back later. Greatly appreciated. Shout out to Vlad again as well. Thank you for always helping me, man, and not forgetting me. It's greatly appreciated. Especially as you know my situation, so thank you, Vlad. Folks, I'll put all the links to where you can follow EX Aegis in the description. YouTube just takes a little bit of time processing, so it'll be watchable and shareable. It's just sometimes you have to wait for the processing to add the end screens on, which is pretty annoying. Everybody, don't forget to follow EX Aegis, all the links. Again, really rad stuff. Definitely enjoy it. Don't forget to follow, support, and subscribe to the channel. I will be live tomorrow with is a band from Germany, and I'm live on Thursdays. I'm pretty much live every day, more or less.
Working hard, man.
Yeah, it's got to be. If you want to come on, just get in touch and let's do this. But everybody, take care. I'll see you on the next episode, and we're all about to do a little awkward pause while I hit end broadcast. Hey. So
thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. So see you on the next one, folks. And pause commence.